Welcome, everybody. I was kind of worried we would have nobody showing up since it's Friday and people are beginning to go home to wherever they came from. So it's nice to see so many people attending. And I'll probably be walking everywhere in the room because I have kind of a hard time standing at the same place during the presentation. So what I'm going to talk about today is, since I founded the company 5 years ago, we've seen a transformation in the way clients are buying and in the way we are selling to clients. So we're a company focusing on value-based selling. We focus on inbound marketing because we're a gold partner to HubSpot. And we onboarded with HubSpot because we saw a demand from the customers where they needed to understand how things are changing and what's happening in the digital area of the buying and selling. So what I'm going to talk about today is sales and marketing alignment and the challenges we have. So why are we still fighting between sales and marketing? And this is something I can see when I speak to other agencies or even when I speak to end clients. So just before I go into detail and start my presentation, how many of you are today HubSpot partners? Agency partners? Okay. So how many of you are in marketing, working with an end client, not a partner to HubSpot? Okay, good. How many sales reps or salespeople do we have in the room? Perfect. So many of the sessions have been probably focusing a lot on marketing and inbound marketing. So I'm going to focus on both, and I'm going to present the model we have, which is taking outbound traditional sales, combining it with inbound marketing, and we have a model for this, which we think is pretty interesting. So let me start off by showing you this picture. Does anybody know who this is? Perfect. This is me. And the reason why I'm dressed in a suit is because I wanted to make a point that I'm actually a sales guy from the beginning. And when many of you saw me today when you entered the room, you were probably perceiving me as the traits a salesperson has in the eyes of marketers, right? So as perceived by marketers, this is I. So the traits is that sales reps are not understanding the value of brand and marketing at all. Too much product and focus on selling and not building value for the customer, right? And we're cavemen. I actually had discussions with several clients where the marketing people call the sales reps cavemen because they don't understand, they're not strategic, they're out fighting the war, they're closing the deals, they're going through the meetings, but they really don't understand why it's wrong to pull up a PowerPoint showing 15 slides and pushing it in the face of the customer again and again and again. So the ones of you who are marketers now had a good laugh. So who is this? Marketing. So this is you, marketer, in the eyes of the sales team. So what does this mean? Well, we see you as naive. We see you as people who don't understand sales. And I'm speaking on a general term now, from sales to marketing. This is the way salespeople see marketers. We also see you as somebody who can help us print stuff, help us with roll-ups, help us with product sheets, whatever. So very tactical, very boring, kind of a schoolgirl's kind of work, right? And you're totally up in the cloud because you're not meeting with the clients, you don't know how to close the deals, and you're not in the... So if you produce a campaign and the sales reps really don't get why you're doing this, who is the target, and what's the aim with the campaign? So building brand is not selling. So this is the world we're living today. So sales and marketing alignment, we've been speaking about this for many, many years, but where are we really today? If we look at some stats, which I've pulled from different sources on the internet, obviously, 50% of sales time is wasted. We know that 24% of customers perceive the sales reps as somebody who speaks about products and features and not about the values from the customer's point of view. We also know that most of the content created, because we're all inbound marketers, so we're doing a lot of content production, how much of the content is actually used in a business environment? Well, 30%. We also know that almost 80% of all generated leads are never closed into deals. So we have kind of a challenge, right? So this is alignment for you. This is where we are today. We have two different parts in the same company, and we're not really aligned. So what I'm going to talk about is how can we go from where we are today, standing on standing on, like sales against marketing, throwing tomatoes and calling each other names and not really liking one another, which is really wrong, to an environment where we do stuff together. So the model I'm going to talk about is really how can we connect the sales team with the marketers in a way that really achieves results. So the unified business model is all about one organization. It's about one process. So it's one organization of people working with sales and marketing together, right? Not one sales organization and one marketing organization. We have one process, which is the sales and marketing process, because we want to measure everything we're doing with relevant KPIs. So everything which is happening on the marketing side, generating deals for the sales reps and the company, we should be able to measure that. And the sales rep who actually is pursuing an opportunity, he loses the customer, this should be measured as well and collected in the buckets we have in the model. Because everybody's speaking about nurturing. Everybody's speaking about, inbound marketing, converting the leads into marketing leads and sales leads. So that's what we need to do. And I'm going to talk a little something about caps and hats. So that's interesting. If we start with the sales side, we have the first part, which we call the prospecting part. And for everybody to know, if you're not in sales, people are different. Some sales guys love crunching the widgets, going through the lists, finding potential deals and leads, finding the right accounts to pursue, right? Other sales reps like to close the deals, and then we have some kind of reps in between. So the ones doing the prospecting are focusing on delivering high-quality lists. So now we're speaking outbound and cold calling. Pretty much warm calling because they're doing kind of most of the work, preparing the hunters for the prospecting part where they try to book the meetings. So this is kind of a junior role. This is a guy or a girl who is pretty new into sales, but really, efficient and really loves to learn a lot, and it should be analytical in the mindset as well. Going through lists, going through data, and producing lists for the hunters so they can actually book meetings. So the hunting part in the model is there basically to place the calls based on the targeted account lists the other people in the organization, the prospectors, have produced. This is where the model starts to go and starts to connect marketing with sales. Because just because you're sitting with a phone and a well-prospected, targeted account list doesn't mean you don't need to speak to marketing. So set up campaigns together with marketing. You could do cold calling and cold emailing as well. But if you have targeted lists and if you speak to people in marketing, you could actually do targeted campaigns combining the emails and the phone calls with the nurturing flows in the model. And the closing part, this is where every sales guy really wants to be. So if I ask sales reps, we do trainings, sales trainings, and I also I'm teaching a class in sales. They want to become sales reps. So I ask them, what do you want to do when you start working with sales? I want to be a key account manager. I want to be a global executive, whatever, yada, yada, yada manager, as long as possible, because I don't want to do the cold calling. I don't want to do the prospecting. I just want to close the deals. And the thing with this role is that everybody wants to do it, but the goal here is to be really senior in the role to be able to do these things. We need to be able to sit down with the customer. We've been speaking a lot about generating leads on this conference. So what happens when we get to the meeting? What do we tell the customer? How do we use value-based or insight-based selling to get the customer to understand what they need to buy and why they should buy it? So this is a senior role, which is really important because we shouldn't let these guys focus on booking meetings and doing cold calling because they're pretty expensive to do that stuff. They should focus on the strategic stuff and close the deals with the customer. If they don't close the deal, well, the customer ends up in one of the buckets and goes into one of the nurturing flows. So let's go down to the marketing side. The first part is, this is pretty well known for you inbounders. So this is the attracting phase. We do blog, we do social media. We try to attract the potential customers online to sign up for a whatever, sign up their email address in a form, sign up for a webinar, whichever. We do everything in our model based on playbooks. So this is the attraction playbook, and this is where we document how to build the campaigns, how to build the workflows and everything. We're using HubSpot, and we're using the HubSpot CRM as well, so everything should be connected there. So we need to reach out in this phase, right? We need to attract visitors, and we need to make them convert into leads. What happens next is that they become a lead, and they become something we call marketing leads. So we've defined it as marketing leads, not marketing qualified leads, but it's the same thing. What are we doing in this phase? We're focusing on conversion campaigns. So conversion campaigns is focusing on what it says, converting the leads into marketing-ready leads, and they would eventually end up as sales-ready leads and be a customer or a booked meeting. So this requires insight-focused content. So we need to make the customer understand what they need to do, what kind of solution they really need to choose, and the reason for it. So we're not selling the products, we're making them understand the value of working together with us as consultants, not buying the products we have, because they don't even know what kind of products we have in this phase. They just want to, we just want to make them feel that we bring value. So that's what we're communicating in these campaigns. This is also the bridge into sales, because this is where we make them interested enough so that they will eventually end up with a sales guy, with a closer. So the closer will contact them, book a meeting, the meeting will be booked, the closer will have the meeting, and hopefully close the deal, right? And this is important because the campaign managers need to work with the online broadcasters. And I'm going to show you in the model. An online broadcaster is the one doing social media, the one doing blog posts, the one doing the attracting phase. So they need to work together. Campaign manager sets up a campaign, and the communication is done by the online broadcaster. So the final one, and now we're ending up with a sales qualified lead, or the sales lead. So what happens here? Well, we need to convert the marketing leads, or the marketing qualified leads, into sales leads. So what is a sales lead? This is one of the toughest questions you could ask a customer or yourself, because the reason why many of the leads never close is exactly because they're really not defined. What is a sales qualified lead? Is it somebody who clicked on several parts of the web page, somebody who filled out like 10 forms? Is it obviously somebody who filled out a form and told the company that I want to be contacted by sales? Yeah, that's a sales qualified lead, but how often does that actually happen? So we need to define what this is, and we need to target the ascension campaigns we have in this case, where we ascend the marketing leads into sales-ready leads. So we know what they're interested in, a specific topic, a specific part of challenges in their organization. So we need to communicate this with ongoing campaigns until they actually jump on some of the offerings we have and become a sales-ready lead. And again, they end up with a closer, the senior salesperson, who then books the meeting and closes the deal. The final one, and this is where everybody mostly misses out. So we need to nurture our customers. We have a list with 1,000, 2,000, 1,500, 10,000 contacts. We need to nurture them. And what happens if a sales guy loses he goes to an appointment, he goes to 2, 3 appointments, the customer says, no, I'm not buying right now. So what happens then? We need to take care of these contacts, and for this we have a nurturing workflow, or several workflows actually, based on what the contacts have been doing before and based on what we want to happen. So I'm seeing this kind of you have a plate with a lot of small critters, and they're jumping around, and all of a sudden one of the critters jumps up and becomes a marketing lead. So you catch it. And when this animal has told you what it's looking for, we communicate with it in the way we know, based on personas, based on targeted marketing, and everything we know, so that we awaken an interest so that they actually choose to say, yes, I'm interested in exactly this you're communicating right now, and they click on a link, they fill out a form, and they go to sales. So the goal for the nurturing is to convert marketing, converted into marketing leads. And this is mostly focusing on existing leads who are not ready to buy, who are not even marketing qualified leads. These could be lists. These could be customers we lost before. This could be, as I've said several times, when the sales rep doesn't, well, he's trying to close a deal and he doesn't accomplish it. These end up in one of the buckets, the nurturing buckets the customer has. So the goal here is to pull them up from the nurturing bucket and make them a customer at the end. So to be able to do this, we're back again on the attracting phase, which I began with on the marketing side, which is we need to educate the customers. And when we're doing sales consultancy, we speak about the need of challenging your customer. So basically, the customer is always right. I normally say the customer is mostly wrong because he doesn't know what he needs, or she doesn't know what she needs. Because if you, as a customer, if you knew what you needed, you wouldn't be speaking to a sales rep, right? Or you wouldn't be speaking to a consultant either. So we need to educate them to make them interested enough to go up into the model. And this is kind of a best practice for this. Each time the campaign manager creates a conversion campaign, the broadcasters, the ones in the initial phase of the communication, will be able to reconvert a portion of the nurturing leads. So they'll jump up and they will be more educated and they will become marketing leads and they go into an ascension campaign and then they become sales lead. So it's a pretty well thought process behind everything here. So everything that's happening in the model, there is a place for every lead, for every contact. So this is the model as a broad picture. So on the top-hand side, you have a sales process. You have the hats, and I'm using caps or hats because in a small organization, you might not even have these many people. You might not even have one prospector, one closer, and one hunter. It might be the same guy. The prospector and the hunter might be the same. The online broadcasters and the campaign managers might be the same as well. So the hats are when it's a small company, you just pick whichever hat you want to use right now. But the important thing is you define every role, what kind of responsibilities you have. And this is also documented in playbooks and processes. So if you don't have it written down, it doesn't exist. So every role has a responsibility and everything is written down where everybody knows where to find it. So just to give you an overview, I've gone through it quickly now, but just to give you an overview, prospectors find potential target accounts. So they give lists, they pass on lists to the hunters. The hunters, they book meetings. So based on the lists, and we know that almost 50% of the time today in a general company, in business to business, the sales reps are focusing on going through lists, going through the CRM systems to finding whichever customer might be possible to contact and might be a good fit. So by using junior roles in the beginning, we're eliminating the senior roles and the cost of having a senior person doing this. So the hunters, they book meetings for the closers, and the closers close the deal, and it ends up with an account manager or a key account manager who is basically managing all the existing clients. What happens, as I said before, if the hunter he's not able to book the meeting, so the customer says, I don't want to meet with you. What happens then? Well, the contact goes down to the nurturing bucket, and from within the nurturing bucket, there is a workflow which communicates in a direct targeted way to these accounts who actually said no. Because if you build this in a CRM system, you might even have a button where you push the button and you say, reason for not booking meeting from the client side is not in the market. So that's one example. I'm not in the market, so you end up in one of the workflows saying not in the market workflows. If it tells you, I never want to speak to you again because I don't like you or your company, and you could go wherever and I don't want to see you again, that one might not go down in any bucket at all. Or you might have 2 or 3 different reasons. So depending on the reason, you have different workflows and buckets for the reason why the meeting wasn't booked. If we do book a meeting and the closer goes out, he has a good conversation with the customer, but they never reach an agreement, Things are stalled, and we lose the customer in that phase. Same thing. We actually met with the customer. And what's happening also is when a closer has a booked meeting with a client, we stop every automation workflow we're having with the customer, because personalization and targeted communication with individuals is pretty cool. But if I've met you face-to-face and you receive an automated email 10 minutes after my meeting telling you, hi, I just stumbled up on this and I thought you might be interested or whatever, people see through this and it becomes really obnoxious. So also, when you meet with a customer, stop every communication which you have, which might be automated, except for maybe newsletters. Account manager ends up with a closed customer, and he wants to sell more. So again, from the account management, you want to sell more products, you want to sell upgrades. So what do you do to achieve this? You put them in a new workflow so that they can be communicated with new products and new insights from your company. And down on the marketing side, pretty simple, as I told you, everything is connected. So the key to the model is the marketing lead bubble and the nurturing lead bubble, because the nurturing lead, this is where we collect everything so we don't lose anything. And if we have a CRM connected to the marketing automation system we use, everything is seamlessly integrated so we don't lose any of the contacts. When they do become marketing qualified leads, we need to target our communication so that we don't lose them there. We might even lose them. They become marketing leads and they decide to say no eventually after all. Well, then they go down to the nurturing bucket again in a new workflow. So if we want to implement the model, so I'm going to touch basically on the best practices for doing this. And the model I just showed you is basically 5 or 6 modules. So what we do when we meet with customers, in most of the cases, they want to know about inbound marketing, and they want to know about how can we generate leads. So 8 out of 10 times, we start with inbound marketing, and we offer them retainers, 12-month retainers. We don't want to do kind of project work, so we want to sign them up for 12 months. But the model is actually a 36-month commitment from the customer, where we normally, one normal example, general example could be, we start with the inbound marketing module, then we optimize it year 2. We set targeted goals, sales goals. We make everything we have in the model even more efficient, and maybe year 3, we go into the sales part, where we start coaching the sales reps. We build a sales process for the sales reps. And remember that the area we're focusing in on today, and always have been, is business to business and complex sales environments. So long sales cycles, complex products. So everything needs to be connected. But if we go into the best practice implementation, as I said, normally 2 to 3 years before the model as a whole is implemented. So this is good for us as an agency, and because we can tell the customer, you're not going to have everything solved in 6 months or 12 months. It's going to take 3 years. But you can jump on now and do the inbound part. It's going to be 12 months, and you're going to see results. If you want to see really, really good results, you might focus an additional 12 months into the future. And if you really want to be the best in class in whatever you're doing in sales and marketing, this might take 3 years. It might take 5 years to get everything working. But you need to start somewhere. We focus extensively on documentation. So everything we do is built into a playbook, which we hand over to the customer. We have playbooks for ourselves as well, because everything we do, we change and we optimize, and then we change the playbook and we update the playbook so that everybody knows what's the latest version and what we should be doing in this area. And as I said, normally you start with 1 or 2 of the modules, and then you move on to the next one. So what have we been seeing in terms of challenges when trying to implement this? Well, we have the strategic failure, which is the first one. So we really the customer can't find a common goal to align around and see the value of why they need to do this. That's the first reason we see. We see execution failure. The execution failure is basically the customer they want to implement this, they want to do it. They might even say, we'll do it ourselves, we don't need your help. And they will fail because it might seem pretty easy, but it really isn't. So this is reason number 2. Third one, resource failure. So we've all been there. If we're in a big organization, there's a lot of people, but everybody has too much work to do. So who should be responsible for making this happen? And how can we find that person? So failing to implement this due to the resources is the third one. So how do we move on? Well, I started by saying sales marketing alignment. Everybody's actually speaking about this, but I haven't seen that many companies who actually have gone all the way and who actually have made sales and marketing speak to one another using the same language. Because I always see these things I started with, like marketing, you're not in the game, you're not meeting with the customers, you don't have a clue what we're doing out there. Why should I use your PowerPoint? On the other hand, caveman, you don't understand strategy, you're just doing whatever you've been doing for the last 20 years, you still think it works, and it doesn't. So in my world, the best sales rep in the future, and I speak a lot about this when I do my keynotes, the best sales rep in the future, does anybody know who that might be in terms of traits or roles or experience or whatever? So if we have, Gartner actually released a report a few years ago saying that year 2020, 80% of the sales reps, if they go on working in the same way as they do today, will be eliminated by robots, by automated processes, and they will not be needed. Because 80% of the sales reps are really crappy. They are really crappy because what they're doing is they're focusing on, let's speak about the product. I love my product. I love my company. I love myself. I love everything I do. So it's kind of like dating. I mean, if you go out on a first date with somebody and everything you do is speaking about yourself, your job, your experience, whoever you are, and your whatever, everything is about you, do you think you're going to have a second date with that lady or man? No. Why do we do the same thing when we're selling? Why do we speak about ourselves, our products, our references, our business cases, our whatever, and then when the customer doesn't want to speak to us or meet with us again, we really don't understand why? So it's kind of when you're dating and you meet with, in my case, I have my girlfriend here, so I'm not in that kind of I'm so thankful I don't have to date anymore because, I mean, it's kind of playing the game and everything connected with it. But let me give you an example. You go out on a date, and for me, the girl, and you call her the next day. She doesn't answer. So you send her an email. She doesn't answer your email. So you send her 3 emails. And she doesn't answer those emails. You call her 7 times. And she doesn't answer. And she's like, with her girlfriends, she's like, Jesus, have you seen this guy? He's called me 7 times. He sent me a bunch of emails and SMSs. And why doesn't he get it? And we're doing the same thing when we're selling. Hey, did you get my proposal? Well, yes, I got your proposal. Okay, have you read it? No, I haven't read it. Okay. Calling again, and again, and the customer goes like, I don't want to talk to you because you're just pushing yourself in your products. What happens when we pull back? What happens when we stop communicating with the customer? Eventually, if whatever we did in the beginning was any good at all, the customer comes back to us. Exactly like dating, like the game of dating. So I don't have the time. I don't want to focus on this woman anymore because she's not answering my emails. She's not answering my calls. So I'm actually not interested. 3 weeks later, she calls me. Why? Because maybe she had a proposal and she had thought it over and maybe it wasn't that bad. And the guy hasn't called me back, so he must have other options, right? So now it's interesting. And one of my friends, normally he's still single, and I pretty much guess why. He makes it a thing to date 3 girls at the same time. Why? Why? Because he has options. So if one of them tells him, I don't want to meet with you, that's fine, I have 2 others. And that's the same thing in selling, right? So if you have 3 big deals instead of 1, you're going to be focusing on all the 3 deals, and it's not going to say, I need to close this, I need to close this. And you're not going to be the pushy sales rep. And the best reps, the best sales guys, are the ones who can act that way, even though they might only have 1 deal. So they send value, and the customer perceives value from the sales guy. So, pretty long talk from my side, but the question was actually, what kind of traits does a sales guy have to survive in the future? I saw a hand right down there. Customer service, why would he or she have the best traits?
Because they're interested in helping. They ask questions. They're not interested in pushing their solution. And in fact, some of the best combinations are customer representative and a salesperson.
Yeah.
So they can spot the problem.
That's a really good point. And again, it's not pushing the product, which is good. But I would say the best, and it goes in line with what you're saying, the best sales reps in the future are actually marketers. And marketers who can sell. So we have a lot of terrific marketers. I really don't like contacting customers. I really don't like booking meetings with them. But you have a lot of value you need to bring to the table. So if you can make sales reps do that, that's pretty cool. So don't fight. Work together. And again, baby steps. That's the main part of the solution, is to take baby steps. Do everything 1 time at a time. So baby steps. So key takeaways before we end for Q&As. And another thing I have planned is, so build the organization, build the process, and the KPIs. And the KPIs, they differ from client to client. There is not a set amount of KPIs everybody can use. It's different with different clients, right? Build in modules. So focus on a small part, make that work, and focus on another part to make that work as well. Leads are worthless. Not only bad, they're totally worthless if you don't close them into deals. So the leads you marketers are generating, and they might be good. If the sales reps don't close them, they're not good enough. So if we don't try to start understanding sales from a marketing side, we're actually missing out on 50% of the sales process. So that's the truth. All right. I have one more thing, which is going to surprise a lot of you, but specifically one person in the audience. This is Emily. Stand up, please. Everybody, this is Emily. This is my girlfriend. We live together. And I wanted to use this moment to ask you a question. Because she's been nagging me for months and months. And now all of a sudden she's kind of being more laid back. So I've become more like, yeah, why not? This is interesting. And I guess you all know what it's about. So I'm going to do it in Swedish and English. And I'm going to ask in Swedish. So, but I'm going to put it out in English so that you understand as well. So does anybody know what the question is? Så I'm going to ask in Swedish. Emily, vill du gifta dig med mig? Ja is yes! Thank God for that. Thank God for that. So the reason why she's not been... You can sit down now. The reason why she hasn't been that aggressive was kind of, maybe I hope she still wants to marry me. So yeah, I'm happy for that. So thank you, and if you have any questions, we have a few minutes based on the model, on my presentation, based on marriage, whatever. You might ask me. No, this is a Swedish thing, you know. In the US, you should go down like this, and but we can do it both ways, so we're going to find the ring together. Yes. So she can choose. All right. Thank you.